I think. But as I look back at my life's journey and events, I now recognize that it's been the hand of God leading me to where I am today. And my faith took on new meaning on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, where I was knocked to the ground, essentially, by what seemed like a supernatural hand. And I would like to think that God saved me for a purpose, and that's to make our country greater than ever before. Pastor Paula White, I've known for a long time, and she's done for the campaign. She's just organized everything. Everybody respects her. She'll call meetings, and everybody shows up, even if it's 2 hours later, they'll get here. And she's just a very incredible woman. And what she's done with evangelicals, what she's done with actually people of all faiths, but it's just what she's done really has made a big difference. And we get 88% of the vote, and people would say, wow, that's not bad, 88%. And they said, how did you do that? And I said, would you please speak to Paula White? Because she knew what she was doing. And we have a team of pastors, ministers, and even rabbis where we are very, they like what I've done for Israel, I can tell you that. We have a lot of rabbis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Where is Paula? Where is Paula? She was right behind me before. You know, she's probably working because that's what she does. But Paul, she's here someplace. She's right back there. She's making phone calls, getting more people lined up for the vote. I'd rather have her do that than be here. But that's the kind of person she is. She's fantastic. And Scott Turner, days away from the most important election in the history of our country. And if you want to know what is at stake for Christians in this race, just listen to what Kamala Harris had to say last week. Because when two college students, religious college students, and very good people, everybody said what wonderful young men they were and are. At a campaign stop, she heard shouting from the background, Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. And Kamala Harris ridiculed them, mocked them, and told them they were, quote, you're at the wrong rally. She basically said, get out, but I won't say that because people didn't hear that so much. But she said, you're at the wrong rally.
Gaslighted on this. We remember Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
So I was introduced to church at a very early age, and I had a wonderful church actually in Jamaica, Queens, First Presbyterian Church. I don't know if you know it. It was built a long time ago, and it was great, but very early. And then ultimately on Sundays, my parents, Fred and Mary, would drive me into Manhattan to worship at Marble Collegiate Church, where Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the author of one of the really big bestsellers, The Power of Positive Thinking, He was the head pastor. Great book. It was a great book then and a great book now. Power of Positive Thinking. A lot of people could use a little positive thinking, right? And he was an incredible speaker. My sister and I were both married there, and the funeral services for both of my parents, I mean, my mom and dad they took place in the main sanctuary of Marble Collegiate Church, and it was just always very special. I still remember the great sermons of Norman Vincent Peale, and he truly was one of the greatest speakers I've ever. First, he was a believer, but he was also a great speaker, an unbelievable man. I actually saw his last sermon, but when you left church, you were really disappointed that it was over. I mean, I have to say, we have a lot of pastors and ministers, but sometimes it's like, am I allowed to say that? It's like a Biden, you know? Sometimes. Not often, of course. But this man, and you know, he always preached in sort of modern times, a little bit in modern times. He'd bring it up. I remember so many of his sermons, but he talked about Alfred Sloan, who was the founder of General Motors, and how he grew up and how he had tremendous problems with alcohol, and he became a major alcoholic. And then, you know, Norman Vincent Peale would just say, and then one day he met God, and he was just the expression of this man. He used to stand at a podium, and he'd be like this, just like that, and he'd preach, and you really were, you know, you were disappointed when it was over. He'd tell you stories about God, about many things, about life. It was really stories about life and how it pertained to religion, and it was really amazing, and he was amazing, and a brilliant, just the enthusiasm he had. And I listened to him for, I would say, 20 years, and then one day I went to church, Marble Collegiate, and he was now, I guess, in his 90s, and he was preaching, and you could see he was getting a little bit tired, and he stood, just like I said, right over here to the left of the podium, and he said,
if you really want to be a CEO, want to be an entrepreneur, you should take the first step. Create the LLC. It doesn't really
I can't do this anymore. That was it. And he just sat down. It was, I mean, we all understood. He was just, he was really, no, I mean, he was really, it was his last time at the podium, and the last time he preached, and it was an amazing moment, and everybody just stood up and applauded. It was sort of a beautiful thing to watch, actually, but to see him, because he was truly a very big name at the time and very respected, and the fact that he wrote this book that was such a big bestseller, it was a massive bestseller, still is, I think. But as I look back at my life's journey and events, I now recognize that it's been the hand of God leading me to where I am today.